at 7 o'clock. I will open this up. Cole, are you ready there? All right, great. We're going to enter the 25-26 budget hearing. This is for all public school districts, common school districts like ours. All school districts are required to have an annual budget hearing that precedes the annual meeting, which will start at 7:30. So tonight at the budget hearing, we'll go through the proposed tax levy, the proposed budget, and then at 7:30 when the annual meeting begins, the electors of the school district have a vote, and there's 7 things that we will look for input on from our electors who are residents of our district here tonight. The 7 things we'll look for is we'll look for approval to authorize a tax levy for Fund 41, which is our capital expansion fund. We can't move forward with the Fund 41 tax levy unless the voters and the electors of the school district approve that. And then the other tax levies in Funds 10, 39, and 80 are rolled up together, and we'll ask for your input on that as well. That's not a binding vote. That is simply a vote to see if there's community support to let the school district, school board know, are you on the right path with your tax levy? We'll also vote on setting the MASD school board member salaries. Those values, whatever they're agreed to, are going to be set by the folks in this room tonight. And then there's 4 areas where we look for the electors to give the school board permission to sell property that's no longer needed, to establish next year's annual meeting date. By default, it's the 3rd Monday of July, unless the electors give permission to set a different date, to authorize the purchase of student accident insurance, and to acquire real estate should a situation come up along the course of a school year. Normally, if there was no authorization, then there could be a second special meeting that has the same powers where purchasing land ultimately is the electors get a say, not necessarily the school board in certain areas. At 8 o'clock, we'll have the school board meeting. So tonight, as we go through the budget and the tax levy, here's a preview of the budget. So we have several funds here that we're going to go through, and I'll spend a little time on each of our funds explaining those, but I want to highlight 3 that are on the screen right now that we're going to spend a little more time on. Fund 10, Fund 27, and Fund 39 are the largest funds that we have in terms of revenues and expenditures. It's not to minimize the other funds, they're all important, but when you take a look at each of those funds on the far left, you can see that the general fund at $66 million and change is easily the biggest fund, so we're going to spend more time talking about that fund. Fund 27, as I have my laser on that there, you can see that's our second biggest fund just about there with $11 million in and out. Fund 39, that's where we levy a tax onto the citizens to pay for our debts associated with the middle school and high school project. This large one that you see here is Fund 49. So once we issued $82 million via public bonds that were sold and those funds that were raised and deposited into a district account, you can see that we have a little bit of interest income there from the $82 million that's deposited. But as we begin to build the middle school here in the coming weeks, months, and over the course of the next 2 years, you can see that we're going to start to spend that money to make that building happen. So the preview of the tax levy is, I'll go through this step by step, but to give a preview on the front end, you can see from 23, we have, there's a few different types of tax levies that get rolled up into one. In 23-24, that was $32.4 million. We cut that by 0.5% last year, so it dropped down to $32.3 million. But this year, unfortunately, what you're hearing from me tonight is a 7% increase, and I'll give you the why during this presentation so the community understand. But the proposed tax levy we're discussing tonight is 7.4% more last year than last year's due to declining state support for MASD schools from the 25-27 state biennial budget. So I want to just give you that information on the front end, and we'll go through the why behind everything. The budget that we developed ultimately started back in January. We adopted assumptions because we have to take a guess as what our 3rd Friday in September enrollment counts will look like, and we have to assume, at least at that time, how much money per student we would raise. In February, middle school and high school students started to select their courses, and we presented a 5-year budget, which at that time showed a $1.4 million deficit. I am proud to report tonight that we are presenting balanced budgets, and any deficit we had, we closed those gaps. In March, we set staffing levels based on student enrollment, and we also adopted a 10-year capital plan to address our building needs. In April, our second biggest line item is health insurance. That's a very volatile element of all school district and all business financials. So we set our health insurance funding levels. In May, final teacher contracts were sent for 25-26. In June, the school board adopted the preliminary budget that you're hearing tonight. In early July, the state finalized their biennial budget. So it wasn't until just last month that we finally changed from assumed funding values to known funding values. And the school board then adopted the preliminary tax levy in July that you'll hear tonight as well. Here in August, tonight we have the budget and budget hearing and annual meeting. Next month, we will have the third Friday enrollment counts on September 19th, so then we can change from an assumed student enrollment count to a known value. And then in October, state aid amounts will be published on October 13th, and we will finalize the budget and finalize the tax levy at the school board meeting on the 27th. Actually, that might be the 20th. I apologize because we're going on the third Friday. So, typo by me, I apologize. So there's a lot of assumptions that we still have yet to actually realize here with student enrollment counts and state aid amounts. So the preliminary budget and the preliminary tax levy are our absolute best guesses as to where we are. So as we talk about how the school district receives our funding, we'll go through our tax levy. We have 26 sources of revenue that come into our general fund, Fund 10, that totals $66.1 million. And if we look at just the top four, that's 97% of all of our funding. State aid and local property taxes are what we're going to focus on in the next several slides. We are anticipating $27.7 million in state support and $27.4 million in local property taxes. We received $5.4 million from open enrollment tuition. That's from students who live in other school districts that open enroll into our district. And then that last final per pupil categorical aid is from the state. We get $742 additional per student. That totals $3.4 million. But the top two ultimately represents 83% of our revenue, and we're going to focus on those. So how we talk a lot about a revenue limit, and a revenue limit ultimately is a limit on the amount of money a school district can receive between state aid and property taxes. So when we add these two together, there is a limit per state law. What we'll do first is we'll calculate what is our limit of revenue. How much can we receive between these two sources? That's step one. Then we'll back into state aid. State aid is the amount we'll find out on October 13th. And then once we know what state aid is, we can finally back into what our property tax amount will be. So as we take a look at the first step of that is calculating the revenue limit. We take a 3-year average of our third Friday counts in September. We multiply that by the MASD per student amount, and then we add or subtract any adjustments in there. The MASD per student amount is unique to every school district. Back in 93-94, when revenue for school districts was limited, you can see that every school district is different here. Mukwonago was the least funded school district in Waukesha County when this law was first created. And you can see there's a wide discrepancy in funding values throughout just the county. Fast forward to the 22-23, you can see that there's an inflationary value that comes from the state budget. So the state budget can sometimes increase through a flat dollar amount per student, or they'll link it to inflation. But fast forward to 3 years ago, you can see we are still at the bottom, a full $1,000 behind Elmbrook. In 23-24, the state biennial budget here said, hey, let's create a new minimum value and raise everybody under $11,000 to the $11,000 ceiling, or I should say minimum rather. After the 23-24 year, we moved forward 1 year and everybody was able to add $325. That was at the bottom, as did everybody at the top. And if we fast forward 1 more year, as we enter this school year, those at the bottom are at $11,650. Kettle Moraine is now at the top, over $14,000 in funding on a per student basis. So this $11,650 increased by $325, courtesy of the state biennial budget. So if we take our assumed value for third Friday in September, multiply it by our amount of funding per student, we create a pot of money of $52.8 million. We add in adjustments of $3.1 million. Over half of that amount represents charter school students that live in our district that do not attend our schools, but ultimately we serve as a pass-through entity to receive money and forward that onto those schools. But our revenue limit, we cannot receive more than $56 million through state aid and property taxes. That's the max amount. So step 1 is calculated. So now we'll move to step 2 and go through state aid. Of this $56 million, how much will the state contribute to that amount? It would be great if the state paid all of it. We could eliminate the K-12 property tax on all of our residents. That's not reality, so we just hope that the state will take as much as they can, minimizing the impact on our taxpayers. State aid works that costs that we have in 24-25 will be reimbursed 1 year later. We had $61.8 million in shared costs last year that ultimately results in $27.7 million in aid this year. That $61.8 million in shared costs divided by the number of pupils used for this count means that we have just over $12,900 in shared costs per pupil. That $12,900 gets divided into 3 tiers. The first 1,000, we have the secondary area and then the tertiary area. This bar that separates the secondary area and the tertiary area represents 90% of the statewide spending average. We don't know that value. How school districts spent in 24-25 ultimately affects that, so we make our best estimate there in the meantime. The first $1,000, we received 39.7% of those costs reimbursed 1 year later. The second secondary tier, we received 46.3% of those costs 1 year later. And at the tertiary tier, we received negative 10%. So those 3 percentages there are all equalized. They are based on the average property value per MASD student, and then they make that value relative to the state average. So every school district, if you're property rich, you don't get these percentages are small. If you're property poor, relative to the state average, then these percentages are high, and this number becomes positive. Okay, we are a negatively aided tertiary school district. So at the primary level, the first $1,000 per spending last year, we get 39.7% of those dollars back. We multiply that by our 4,777 students, which generates $1.8 million in state aid at the primary level. At the secondary level, we receive $25.9 million, and at the tertiary level, we lose $100,000. It all adds up to $27.7 million, and that is our equalization aid or state aid. It's the same thing. So just to recap, $61.8 million in shared costs last year results in $27.7 million in state aid this year. We can now find that we know what our max value is. Here's how much the state will provide. The rest goes to the taxpayers of $28.2 million. That's about, if I round that for simplicity purposes, it's almost a 50-50 split. Last year, the state took 53% of that cost. You can see the state is backing off on their investments than K-12, which puts more pressure. Last year, our taxpayers had to pay 47% of the revenue limit. This year, they're being asked for 50% due to declining state support. All right, last year, if we take a look, we received $28.8 million in state aid. This year, it falls to $27.7. So we have less state support from the biennial budget. All right. What occurs then is the state aid that we receive, the $27.7 million, gets put into Fund 10. The school board will then say, of the $28.2 million in tax levy, how much do we put in Fund 41? Well, that's money that's being set aside for future building needs, and the remainder goes to Fund 10. What we're proposing tonight, and you can see this on page 14 of the budget packet, if you flip to that, you'll see that we're proposing to put $800,000 into our maintenance needs, the fund via Fund 41. That's for preventative maintenance. It's to keep our buildings working, to make sure that there's no leaks, all those things. The remaining amount will go to Fund 10. That tax levy is restricted by the revenue limit law. The school board cannot levy any more than that. There's 2 more tax levies that take place. We have a $6.3 million tax levy to continue to pay off the high school debt. That is governed and restricted by the residents of the district. We cannot levy $6.3 million unless we successfully passed a referendum to justify that. And then finally, there's $150,000 in the community service fund. That is restricted and governed by the school board's decisions. There's no limit. There's no maximum. You just have to be able to answer to the community to say, do you support this tax levy? That tax levy pays for 2 school resource officers at the middle school and at the high school. When we add up all 4 of those levies, it's a $34.7 million total tax levy. Again, that has grown due to declining state support, which is unfortunate. I wish I had better news. The mill rate here, you can see on the far left, going back to the very first year of our revenue limit laws. The mill rate is a measure of intensity of how much is the school district asking for relative to property values. You can see that, for $1,000 of a household's value, you would multiply and do the math to figure out what is the average tax levy per household. Last year, we hit the lowest mill rate in district history at $5.82. I know it's hard to see that if you're sitting in the audience section here. At $6.12, the proposed mill rate this year is still the 2nd lowest mill rate in our district's history. So in other words, relatively speaking, the ask for the K-12 school district is as low as it's really been almost historically relative to the value of houses inside the MASD. So that's how we receive our 2 largest revenue sources. That's the 83% that funds our school district and really is the financial lifeblood of what we do and to fund our operations. So now we'll talk about how we will spend that revenue, okay? So again, we go back to page 14 at the top. We have our fund summary that goes through. It shows our beginning fund balance on July 1 of this year. Here's the anticipated revenues that we anticipate collecting, our anticipated expenditures, and then our final fund balance that we're estimating for June 30, 2026. We'll go through these funds. I'll quickly highlight just 2 because they're relatively easy to explain. Fund 21 is for donations and student activities. We anticipate $1.3 million in revenues and an equal number in expenditures. $1.1 million of that is for student activities. So those are fundraisers from our band and art groups, from our football players, our soccer players, all of our athletes, all of our musicians. When they raise funds, they get to keep those funds and spend those funds how they see fit. So when the money gets raised by the kids, we spend the money back on the kids according to what they choose. And so that we anticipate a break-even budget in Fund 21. Fund 27 is a scholarship trust fund, so certain donations have been made historically. We invest those into safe investments like CDs. We collect the interest, and then we award scholarships at the end of the school year to our departing seniors as they move on. And we project $35,000 in receipts and revenues and an equal amount in expenditures. Okay, so we serve as a fiduciary holder of the money. It doesn't technically belong to any of us, but we operate in good faith to make sure that we honor the intent of those who donated those scholarship trust funds to begin with. So that leaves us with a few funds here that we'll go through these now and explain the budget. When we add Fund 10 and 27 together, that's really our operating budget. We simply segregate our spending into Fund 27 so we can clearly define how much are we spending on special education. We have to be able to justify that we are making investments into kids with IEPs. When we take a look at the investments or the revenues that we have between Funds 10 and 27 combined, we have the top 7 sources of revenue there. You can see the description of what that revenue is, who's providing that revenue, and then the total amount. These 7 sources, again, represent 98% of our operating revenues, and these are really significant revenues. When we take a look as to where does money come from for our operating budgets in Fund 10 and 27, 49% of all the dollars we receive comes from the state governments. So every time that we make a payment and we have a 5.5% sales tax, that money gets added up into the state's budget, and our state lawmakers ultimately determine how do we distribute that money. K-12 is the largest investment in the state budget. There's corrections, there's the UW system, there's Department of Transportation. There's a lot of things vying for those funds, but state government provides almost 50% of our funds. Our local residents and local sources provide 41%. Other school districts give us 8% of our operating budgets, primarily through open enrollment and students coming to our district. We get 2% from the federal government, and then we have a small sliver that doesn't even get up to 1% there. but that's where we receive our money. We're highly dependent on state government and local citizens. When we take a look at our expenditures, salaries is our #1 expense. So in an entity like ours, we are driven by people. We don't have research and development or heavy machinery like some private sector employers might have, but we are highly dependent on people to teach students. 52% of our expenses are in salaries, another 19% in benefits, for a total of 71%. Typically, a school district should be between 70 and 75% of their operating budget in salaries and benefits. Purchase services is 21% of our expenditures there. That represents $3.5 million for school bus transportation, $2.9 million for students who open and roll out, $1.3 million for utilities to keep the lights on, the air conditioning on, the heat on. We have $2.2 million in expenses there for students who are attending private voucher and charter schools. So there's a lot of purchase services that we give to other entities to keep the lights on, to keep the buses showing up. Capital objects is 4% of our budget. That represents things over $5,000 individually, so we're really talking technology and some building needs. 3% for supplies, so that's anything under $5,000. We're talking paper, pencils, the basics. And then we have 1% dedicated towards property insurance and liability insurance. When we take a look at the operating expenses in Funds 10 and 27, again, I'm proud to report that we have a balanced budget. Funds 10 and 27 are balanced. General fund revenues, as we head to next year, decreased by $1.5 million when we compare those values to 24-25 actual revenues. Here you can see our full-time equivalent amount of employees from teachers, administrators, professional staff, pupil services staff, and hourly support staff. And you can see that we had to adjust our budget primarily here with teachers to make sure that the amount of teachers we have meets student enrollment and course selection. So as student enrollment declines, we have to adjust accordingly and always be nimble to produce a balanced budget. As we move on from Funds 10 and 27, and we talk about Fund 39, this is where we levy debt. We have a tax levy to pay approved referendums. We had one in 2016 that's wrapping up shortly, and the most recent one that we had this past November. Details are on page 21 and 29, but what we anticipate is $7.1 million of debt payments this coming school year. We will levy $6.3 million, and we have some fund balance available, so we're able to take the $6.3 million that we're going to receive from taxpayers, use the fund balance, and make $7.1 million in payments. Next, this tax levy here in Fund 39 does not reflect the middle school tax levy. That levy will begin next year. So this year we're levying $6.3 million. Next year that will increase to $7.2 million as we begin a 20-year march to pay off the new middle school. Fund 41 is a fund that pays for truly maintenance of our 8 school buildings. We anticipate $800,000 via our revenue limited tax levy, plus another $25,000 in interest income and $675,000 in expenditures. Our beginning fund balance is $3.9 million. Our ending fund balance is just over $4 million. Those dollars are set aside and reserved strictly to make sure that anytime a new roof is needed, such as the one next door at Clarendon, we want to make sure that we don't have leaks, that the buildings are assets of the community, that we pass these assets along to future generations, and that we don't let them fade. So we have proper fund balance such that I don't foresee the school board or the administration asking the community for another referendum to say, hey, we need help patching our roof up. We need help maintaining our buildings. We have fiscally, with fiscal prudence, set money aside to meet the needs of our buildings without asking for additional help. Building a brand new building is difficult. It's pretty much impossible to sock away and set aside $89 million to build a new one, but it is reasonable to say, hey, set money aside so you maintain the buildings that you have. We've done that. We will continue to do that. Fund 46 works just like Fund 41. All the funds in the 40s are all related to buildings. At the end of a school year, if there's money left over, we can take that money from the operating budget and transfer it into Fund 46, which is to set money aside for future building needs. We adopted this budget in Fund 46 really, I think, about June 23rd, before the fiscal year ended. We had a number of projects that we were working on throughout the school district that weren't quite done yet. We started working on the roof at Clarendon next door. Rain will set that back. We were hoping it was done by June 30th, but we set the money aside last year. We weren't able to spend that money last year because the project wasn't completed. So that project now rolls over into the current school year. So although we appropriated the money last year, it's not until this year we'll actually be spending it. The July 1 to June 30 fiscal year doesn't really lend itself to summer projects real cleanly. Ultimately, what will happen is that our beginning fund balance is, in the budget you see tonight, is $6.3 million, and the ending fund balance is $6.3 million. When I come back in October and present it, we'll actually have about $4 million of projects we were not able to complete by June 30 that will simply roll over into the next school year. But the main point I'm making right now is we have an additional $2.3 million set aside, again, for projects on our 10-year capital plan. Every building we own that we take responsibility for has a lot of thought that goes into it to make sure, do we have a replacement schedule for our boilers, for our heaters, for our roofs, for the windows, for everything that our buildings require. And we are setting those dollars aside to meet the needs of those buildings when those projects come due according to the 10-year plan. All right, Fund 49, this is where we raised the $82 million in our first bond issue. We set that money aside solely, strictly for the referendum question that was asked last November, which is to build a new middle school. We put $82 million into this account. We anticipate earning $2.8 million through interest earnings over the coming fiscal year, and we anticipate spending $32 million of that for work performed between July 1st and June 30 of next year. So ultimately, the money that's placed in this account will be spent down as we need to complete the middle school project. The purpose of these dollars is, again, is to pay for construction of a new middle school. Other funds that we have here, Fund 50 is our food service. We have details on page 25. We anticipate $2.8 million in revenues, $2.9 million in expenditures. We have a very healthy fund balance of just over $1 million. But we work our fund balance down. The reason is in 24-25, we increased our meal prices by 40 cents. Our school board has put a lot of thought into making sure that we're not raising meal prices too much on our students who eat our meals through our school. We serve thousands of meals a day. We are probably the largest restaurant in all of Mukwonago when you think about our food service program in that sense. We raised meal prices 20 cents this year, and our goal is to create a break-even budget where revenues equal expenditures and we're balanced in Fund 50. We have a little bit of, again, more expenses than revenues due to some one-time expensive equipment that's needed in some of our kitchens throughout the district in each of our schools. Fund 73 is our employee trust fund. So when we hire a brand new teacher today, in addition to their salary, part of their compensation package says that we will pay $1,000 per year of service if they stick with us till age 55 and have 20 years of service with us. Those $1,000 per year will add up and will be paid out upon retiring in good standing from the school district. As teachers stay with us and accrue years of service, the amount we owe them grows. I'm proud to report that we are fully funded here. We don't need to set aside future dollars at this time. That future liabilities that we have are funded right now, that we're not kicking the can towards future school boards to deal with or future administration to deal with. When we say we owe money in the future, we properly set money aside to pay for those future liabilities. They are funded. Our last fund then is Fund 80. That's the 2 school resource officers totaling $150,000 in cost. We levy that tax, and then we pay that money to the Village of Mukwonago, who provides the 2 school resource officers to provide student safety at our middle school and our high school. Fund 80 also has a community education program that's self-sustaining, so it raises about $35,000 in revenues and has $35,000 expenses. We're not looking to necessarily raise revenues this way, but to just offer a community education program that our kids, our residents, can access, that the school district ultimately offers. So in summary here, as we back up into the 7:30 time slot here, and the annual meeting will begin shortly, The summary of our financial affairs is this, is that I wish I had better news. For years and years, we decrease our tax levy by about 0.5% each year. The tax levy is set to increase by 7.4%. When we consider the mill rate is the second lowest in our district history at $6.12 per $1,000 of a house's or property's value. So while the school levy is up relative to house values, the K-12 mill rate is historically low. We have a balanced budget. When student enrollment decreases, our revenue decreases, and therefore our staff should decrease, and we've accomplished that. It was hard work, but I believe that the budget reflects fiscal prudence. Our employee benefits costs have been contained, so I mentioned earlier that our health insurance is one of our most volatile line items, and we have worked extremely hard to contain those costs, and we've done a good job there. Our fund balance is in a good position. We have 32% fund balance available. Board policy asks that we maintain a minimum of 15%, but the money that's there as fund balance can be used again to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our kids, and if should any one-time projects present themselves, we are funded to handle those. We do not short-term borrow. When you take a look at our cash flow, all school districts really bottom out and hit low water marks with their cash position in November and December. Many school districts, including many here in Waukesha County, run out of money on hand and have to do short-term borrows through their local banks to cover their payrolls and other things that occur in November and December. However, we do not have to do that. We avoid those unnecessary short-term interest costs. We are also AA+ rated, which puts us in the top six school districts in the state who are rated by Standard & Poor's, and top 18 financial performing school districts in this state when we consider those that are rated by Moody's. Our referendum debt will begin next year, and our OPEB, our future liabilities associated with teacher compensation packages, if we owe money in the future, those are already fully funded, so we are not kicking the can. That's the summary of our financial affairs. That's the budget, and that's the tax levy. Deb? Yes? Sure. Sure, I'm going to get to it here. Let me click back a few times here. There we go. Categorical aid, special education comes from the state government. That value this year was about last year was 2.7 or 2.8 million, give or take, and now that's at 3 million. So it provided some help. But ultimately, what I would like to have seen was that state aid from the state government would increase. That's the biggest investment from our state government. That goes back to the founding constitution of the state of Wisconsin, is to provide education for all residents, all kids, and the state would help share in that cost. I wish they would have shared more. Okay. Any other questions from the electors of the school district? Yes. Yep. Sure. So, yep, those go, so this should really say liability and property insurance. It's kind of just lumped it together there. But yeah, those have increased as well as hurricanes and natural disasters occur, and insurance companies are ultimately paying for fires out west or floods down south. Our rates go up here. So really nobody's immune to that. Yes, those costs have gone up significantly. The cost to replace anything, should there be a tornado, God forbid, or what have you, it costs a lot to replace those things, and therefore insurance is up significantly. Anything else? Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we will now move into our annual meeting. I will serve as the temporary chairperson for the meeting. This is the annual meeting of the Mukwonago Area School District of Waukesha County in the state of Wisconsin. We had our formal budget hearing, which is, meets our statutory code requirement. We were posted for this meeting on the school district's official newspaper in the Waukesha Freeman. I'd ask everybody to stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So I welcome everybody tonight and thank you all for attending. This evening, all Mukwonago area school districts residents who wish to participate in the meeting must register. Laura, do you have the list of registrants? There are 13 individuals that are signed up tonight. So tonight, everybody is a member of the annual meeting participant. There are some voting requirements. You must be a citizen of the United States, 18 years or older, and you must be a resident of the district for at least 28 days prior to any election. Tonight, our board clerk is not here with us this evening, so I do need to take nominations for a clerk.
I'd like to nominate Jake Heilingenthal.
Second.
Jake, do you accept this nomination?
I accept.
Are there any other nominations for clerk? Any other nominations? All right, we will need to then, we don't need to vote because Jake is unanimous for the clerk. Just taking note down, okay. What's that? You can't say, all in favor of Jake, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to Jake? Okay, Jake passes, all right.
Nice job, Jake.
Jake, good job. All right, I will now take nominations for a chairperson of the meeting.
I'd like to nominate Craig Verts.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second for Verts. Mr. Verts, do you accept the nomination?
I do, thank you.
Are there other nominations for chairperson of the meeting? Are there any other nominations for chairperson of the meeting? Okay. There has been a motion and a second for Mr. Craig Verts to be the chairperson of the meeting. We will take a voice vote. All in favor of Craig? Please say aye.
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 Are there any opposed to Craig? All right, being none, Craig, you take over the meeting now.
Thank you, Joe. Dr. Cook, sorry. So we're starting at 7, is that correct? Minutes of the 2024 annual meeting. No action required. Reports, treasurer report.
Yes, so for the treasurer's report, the accounting firm of Hawkins Ash CPAs LLP of Manitowoc, Wisconsin is in the process of auditing the general purpose financial statements of the Mukwonago Area School District as of and for the year ended June 30th, 2024, including its various funds and account groups. Any adjustments required by the auditors for the purpose of forming an opinion on the general purpose financial statements taken as a whole have been or will be discussed with the district and, if necessary, recorded in the district's accounting records. The audit is scheduled to be completed in November. A summary of the district's unaudited receipts and expenditures are presented in the proposed 2025-2026 budget included in this document. The accounts are presented in an outline form. Additional details regarding the district's budgeted receipts and expenditures are available from the Director of Business Services. In addition, copies of the audit report will be on file in the school district office and may be examined by any elector of the district. Thank you.
Thanks, Jake. Let's go to 8B, superintendent's report.
Thank you. The Mukwonago Area School District continues to operate in a highly effective manner, attaining high academic achievement, providing excellent programs for our students while maintaining fiscal responsibility to our communities. Our district ranks in the top 10% of all K-12 public school districts in Wisconsin. We have the highest third grade reading scores among Waukesha County school districts. 2 of our schools have been recognized nationally as Blue Ribbon schools, and 1 nationally recognized as a Green Ribbon school. All schools in the district meet or exceed expectations on the Department of Public Instruction school report cards. Students at MHS continue to excel in the classroom, in our career and technical education programs, in the performing arts, and in athletics. Our comprehensive programming meets the current needs of our students while preparing them for their future endeavors. In November of '24, the community supported the $89.1 million Parkview Middle School project. Construction on this project will begin in September of '25, so in a few weeks, and will be completed by September of 2027. Through this process, our district received an upgraded bond rating by Standards & Poor's to AA+, the highest rating among K-12 public schools in Wisconsin. In addition to our school performance and facilities discussion, the Mukwonago Area School District strives to meet the needs of our community. Through our CTE programs, we are developing the next generation of workers and leaders in our community. We are maintaining the strong values of our community in our day-to-day operations as a district, and we will continue to do so in the future. Respectfully submitted by me.
Thank you, Dr. Cook. Board President's report. Dale?
Thank you, Craig. On behalf of the board, I'd just like to say we're very happy and excited of all the groundwork that's been laid out over the last 2 years. So we're really looking for an exciting future. We implemented a lot of leadership training, a lot of accountability that wasn't here before. We aligned all of our schools to district goals. We added classroom time. We had discipline policies and behavior expectations for the district and in the classroom. We started staff evaluations, exit interviews, state interviews. None of these things were really done in the past. So when I talk about the groundwork, we really did have to start at the groundwork and start over. Dr. Cook started parent-teacher committees. We have Rachel updated all of our handbooks that were outdated. We feel we are more transparent in our communication, and we're really, really excited for our new middle school. We're gonna be breaking ground in September. So thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Next up is the Post-Retirement Trust Fund report.
All right, so anytime a school district has a trust fund, it's incumbent upon us at the annual meeting to report to the community what this fund is, how it's been used, and is it performing up to expectations? Are we doing what we said we were going to do with the money? And I am proud to present that we are. If everybody who has a packet here went to page 30 and 31, you can see that there's two pages. On page 30, we have $4.7 million that was present in this account as of July 1st, 2024. And then if you go along that right-hand side towards the middle, there at the end of the school year on 6/30/2025, there was $4.4 million remaining. Again, we're fully funded there. Those dollars are set aside, reserved, and earmarked and untouchable, except for the only thing which it can do is to pay for teacher compensation packages that we provide to them should they work for us for 20 years. So it's really a retentionary tool, and those dollars are accounted for, as you can see on that page. If you flip that and go to page 31, we have a $500 match. So we have a 403B option, which allows for employees of our school district to defer some of their funding for their retirement needs. And for our teachers, those who set up to $500 aside, we match that $500. As you can see, there was $925,000 in this account on July 1st of last year. And if you come towards about the middle of the page on the right-hand side, there was $21,000 left. School board took action to say, we're going to turn this from a retirement benefit into an active benefit. So rather than waiting till the end of your career, we have a 5-year vesting schedule that once you're with us for 5 years, we're no longer going to hold this money. We are going to put this into your hands to have and to hold. So we transferred and put this money into the teacher's hands, which meets what this handbook always said it was, that after you're with us for 5 years, this money is yours. So we did what we should have done probably a while ago, but that explains why there's less money in that that portion of the Fund 73 account.
Thank you, Tom. Community Service Fund report.
Like what we just did there, if there's a Community Service Fund 80 tax levy, we have to report to the electors. Here's what we did with the tax levy that was issued. Some school districts will use their Community Service Fund for really grand recreation projects, ice rinks, you name it, pickleball courts. We have a very small fund, 80 tax levy, which again, it pays for the 2 school resource officers in a self-sustaining community education program, which ultimately is no cost to the citizens. The cost really for that tax levy is solely for school security purposes. So that's the report there.
Thank you, Tom. Action items. Setting of district levy.
Okay, so this is the time when we look to the electors of the school district to let us know, do you support what we presented earlier here in the budget hearing here? So I'm not sure why we do it this way, but this is just kind of the way that it happens. If you look on page 7, we're looking for a resolution levying a tax for the district's Fund 41 Capital Expansion Fund. We need your permission to move forward here. So we're looking for somebody to make the resolution that says, be it resolved that a tax in the amount of $800,000 be levied for the 25-26 school year to be deposited in the Capital Expansion Fund to be used solely for the purpose of maintaining Mukwonago Area School District facilities. We can do this by a show of hands or a written ballot if requested by anybody. So I don't want
Do we have a
yeah, go ahead.
motion? Your name again, ma'am? Heather, thank you. We have a motion from Heather. Thank you, Deb. We have a second
And a third.
and a third. Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Do we have any discussion? Is there any discussion here?
There can-
Anybody has any questions?
Yeah, any discussion? A show of hands, please, if you're in favor of this motion.
6, 7, 8. So we have 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All 14. Do we have 14 folks here? I think Heather came in after you may have counted. I think regardless, it is unanimous.
Motion passed.
13 or 14.
Laura would let us know what you think on the total vote thing. Thank you. We can hold off, Laura, until you're ready. Resolution authorizing operational debt service and community service tax levy.
So,
Tom?
yep, sure. The other tax levies then, following what we just passed there, says, be it resolved that a tax in the amount of $33,898,417 be levied on all property, real and personal, which is taxable under Wisconsin state laws within the Mukwonago Area School District, counties of Waukesha and Walworth, state of Wisconsin, for the purpose of financing the operation of the public schools of the school district for the year 25-26 pursuant to the budget for this year as presented to the annual meeting. So again, the tax levy information, the school board on or before November 1st has the duty to vote on a tax sufficient to operate and maintain the school district if the annual meeting fails to do so. Further, if the annual meeting votes on a tax that violates state statutory revenue limits, the school board must lower the tax to bring it into compliance with the revenue limits, which is in state statutes 120. So this is the time for the electors to show support or lack thereof of the tax levy that we discussed earlier. The final tax levy, ultimately responsibility is with the board, but this is the school board's chance to take the temperature on how the community supports or doesn't support what we discussed tonight.
So we need a motion
Yes.
on the resolution authorizing operational debt service and community service tax levy. Do we have a motion? Thank you. Do we have a second? Deb, thank you. Any discussion?
I just want to make it clear, this doesn't have anything to do with this tax levy with the middle school.
Correct. We do not begin to levy the additional tax dollars until next year, 26, 27. Next year's tax
I just
levy
know
will.
that question is going to come up, so
Sure,
that's
you
what
bet.
I wanted to ask.
Yes. Yep. Yes, Deb.
Any other discussion? So by a show of hands,
So we have 2, 6 out there, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yep. Sorry,
We
Laura,
have
I miscounted
13?
earlier. Yep, 13-0.
motion carries. Thank you. Number 10, board salaries. It's it's up to the citizens voting at the annual meeting to determine what board salaries will be for 25-26. Currently, board salaries are $3,500, with the board president receiving additional $1,000. Note this amount was established in 2021. A motion is needed in order to set the board salary amounts for 25-26.
For your information, I'll just add to that, if you don't mind,
Please go, Tom.
Chairman Verts. Page 32 has other Waukesha County School Board salaries that are listed there. So for comparison purposes, if you want to take a look at where they're at. As a resident of the school district, who I send my 2 sons here, what I can easily say is that this is full-time work for part-time pay. No matter the amount that's established here to pay board members, it's 10 cents an hour if you're lucky. I appreciate the investment that you all make into making the school district what it is today. But clearly, we're not going to pay you enough for your time
If,
here. so-
well, I would like to keep them the same. That's my opinion. Anybody else want to jump in? I know it makes you look like a schmuck right now if you say you want to up it, but I think keeping the same is fair.
I agree.
Anybody else? Jason,
I'd like to make that motion.
do we have a second? Deb, no increase? You just want a second to keep it the same? We have a second from Deb, thank you. Any discussion? Deb?
No, so a very small sliver of our school district, the village of Mukwonago overlaps and straddles as you head down on Highway 83 South ever so slightly. So if you look on our map there, we pretty much have a flat line on our southern boundary with a little pink area that kind of pokes out down, and that little area belongs in Walworth County. By and large, we are a Waukesha County school district. We could compare to Milwaukee County for some purposes. We could compare to Walworth County for some purposes. For the most part, our comparable neighbors are Waukesha County school districts, even though we have a little bit of land that's outside the county.
Little funny bit of information for you, Deb. There's a house in the orchard. There's a house. It's divided in half. Half it's in Walworth, half it's in the village of Mukwonago. So, that's your house? No, my house. Oh, okay.
Oh.
Got it.
So we have a motion and a second, is that correct?
Yeah.
And the school board salary staying the same for 25-26. All in favor, show of hand, please. Motion carries. Thank you.
13-0.
Unfinished business.
We don't have any other unfinished business. I think we go right to new business.
New business, yep.
New business, please.
Do you want me to take it to you? Okay. All right, so the annual meeting has certain powers that doesn't solely rest with the school board. It resides with the electors of the school district. Should the school board ever have tangible property that the school board deems is no longer necessary, we're looking for permission from the electors. Say we have an old fleet of textbooks that we no longer need. We'd like to perhaps sell those textbooks to another district that may make use of them. So we're looking for permission to get permission from the electors to sell tangible property. So be it resolved that the resolution would say, be it resolved that the school board of the Mukwonago Area School District is hereby authorized during the current school year to sell and dispose of any tangible personal property belonging to the school district that is deemed by the school board to be no longer needed for school purposes. I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion?
No, we could never sell a building without the electors giving us. Correct, yep.
Matt?
If there's no seller, no buyer, then a donation can take place. It's more or less the same thing here. There comes a certain point in time where we don't have enough storage to keep everything we've ever purchased. If we still had 1972 textbooks here when Craig was a second grader, I think we'd have too much stuff on our hands. So there comes a point in time where we do need to move on from certain things, sell them, if no buyer, donate.
And there is specific board policy that directs what to sell, when we sell it, how we sell it.
We have a motion and a second. Anybody else? Any other discussion? Can I have a show of hands, please?
All right,
Thank you.
13-0. All right, the next one then is a resolution to authorize the school board to set the date and time for the 2026 annual meeting. As I said earlier, by default, state law says it'll take place on the third Monday of July. Sometimes it helps us to establish a more flexible date to meet the needs. Sometimes we've done them as early as July, sometimes in August like tonight. Sometimes we've done them in September. I know our neighbors to the east of us, they do their annual meeting and budget hearing the same night that they do their final tax levy in October. So school districts do it in a variety of different ways. Sometimes we just time it up differently. So for this year, we delay it to August so we could learn the state budget in July and present more factual information for everybody. So having that flexibility just lets us have a more informed budget hearing and annual meeting. So I'll make the motion to authorize the school board to set the date and time,
Second.
2026.
We have a motion by Tom and a second by Jake. Any further discussion? Can I have a show of hands, please? Motion passed. Thank you.
By default, it'll go to the third or fourth Monday of July. It's one of those two. Pardon me, I don't know exactly which one.
You
off the top
said
of my
it-
head.
you had the wrong date on it. You had the 27th, and you thought it was the 20th.
That's the final in October when we do the final
Oh, got it.
certification
Okay.
tax levy. That's coming up for this year. You and likely after board elections in April, we'll plan ahead to say when do we want to have the annual meeting. So that decision will take place in April.
Heather, does that answer your question? New business C, resolution to authorize the school board to purchase student accident insurance.
Okay, so the school board, not sure why, can't purchase this unilaterally. They need the approval of the electors. So there's times in our schools where kids bump heads. They, by no negligence of the school district, there's an accident that a student's family's insurance would have to cover their needs. Some of our families don't have proper medical insurance should their kiddo get hurt while at school. With permission tonight, would we be able to purchase student accident insurance to help families out should something happen to their kiddo? Again, that is of no fault of the school district, but we can help families then bridge any problems that may come their way financially speaking.
I move that we pass and authorize the school board to purchase student accident insurance.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? By a show of hands, please. Motion carried. Thank you.
All right, then the final piece of new business is a resolution to authorize the school board to acquire real estate through purchase or condemnation. So be it resolved that the school board of the Mukwonago Area School District is granted the authority of the electorate to acquire real estate through the purchase or condemnation. Why we are asking for this is that a number of years ago, a private property was donated to us in the Pheasant Run subdivision. The intent of the donation was to allow our skilled trade students to use that property to build through a learning experience to build a house, which we would then sell, take the proceeds from the sale and pick a different property and just kind of rinse and repeat over and over. Allows our kids to learn how to really build something of significance and give them real life value. We sold that property for approximately $120,000. Those dollars are reserved and earmarked to buy a piece of property that's closer to the high school so our kids don't have to spend so much time commuting there and back each day. So really the intent there is to say, hey, can we have the flexibility, should we find a property that we want to purchase, that we can do that without having to call a special meeting of the electors.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Tom, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jake. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Heather?
Sure. So this is just for permission for the coming 25-26 school year. I completely understand where you're coming from, right? Like you're granting broad powers. Sure, sure. Yeah, I think that we can go ahead and so how, this is where
Maybe you want to have the
this is where
the
amendments
lawyer,
come in all.
our guys at Joel and those guys review that.
Well, it would be, I mean, for the purposes of the meeting, I mean, it does carry annually, and we could somebody could move to amend the motion, and with the amendment, it could say, for educational purposes, or for for educational purposes during the 25-26 school year.
I
Okay.
can't really honestly think of another situation at the current time where we would be looking to purchase. Once upon a time, we were looking for a place to put our middle school, but we kept it where it is after we did an exhaustive search. I can't think of anything that would put us in the land buying business except for this. So I think it's perfectly good to do that.
So, do you want to make an amendment, Heather, to this, or? Do we need another motion then? A motion for this?
Yeah, we would have to,
Okay,
I will move to amend the motion to include, to state, be it resolved that the school board of the Mukwonago Area School District is granted the authority of the electorate to acquire real estate through purchase or condemnation for the purposes of hands-on learning experiences for students. With that, okay, and then we would have to vote then on the amended, so there has to be a motion to approve the amendment, and then we would then go forward and go back to the vote for the motion to pass this resolution.
The new wording.
Yep.
so we need a motion. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Is there a motion to approve the amendment to the motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
So we have a motion to approve and a second to approve. Now we would need to vote on that
Okay, all in favor of the show of hands to approve the
amendment.
amendment? Carries, thank you.
And now we have to vote on the resolution.
And the new wording for the resolution,
Yep.
which we just amended, but we need a motion first, correct?
Correct.
There is a motion. There is a motion.
Oh, there is a motion and a second.
Yep.
Now we have
need to
discussion.
Vote on the discussion vote. Yep.
See, normally these meetings are bored. We just livened it up. I like it. Good work, guys.
So is there discussion then on the amended motion?
With a show of hands,
So then
please.
we need a motion to approve, or we would approve, vote to approve.
Who carries? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. I believe that's it. I believe we adjournment, a voice vote to adjourn, is that correct?
Correct.
Mike?
Is it everyone or?
Yeah.
Oh, it's everyone?
Yes.
Oh, do we have a adjournment?
Aye.
All in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Does anybody need a little break before we start the meeting? 2 minutes. Okay, we'll take a 2-minute break.
6 years, Deb.
Congrats.
All right, calling this meeting to order, Monday, August 18th at 8:09 PM. Mike Gooch, could you do the roll call, please?
Jason Bennett.
Here.
Crosby Bugenhagen.
She's excused.
Mike Gooch, I'm here. Jake Helligenthal.
Here.
James Olson.
He's excused.
Dale Porter.
Here.
Eric Schwartz.
He's excused.
Carolyn Simon.
She's excused.
Craig Verts.
Here. This is an open meeting and it has been posted. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thanks. All right, we're going to go down to consent agenda. We're looking for the approval of the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of August 11th, 2025, and approval of vouchers and receipts. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, that is approved by consent. Moving down to personnel topics. Director's report. Oh, okay. Then we are moving down to student learning topics, director's report.
Okay. At the Committee of the Whole meeting, I had 3 informational items. The first was an update on our 3rd through 5th grade ELA pilot. We will be piloting 2 different resources this year. Parents of students in the pilot classrooms will be getting information regarding the pilot this week. And then we will be holding a community viewing night. We will obviously monitor that throughout the year and we will keep the board updated on our progress. The next item was just a quick update on our August professional development. We have teachers coming back into the building and other staff next week. We have a variety of professional development activities that will be occurring with our district-wide kickoff happening on Tuesday. And then finally, I gave a presentation on the elementary progress reporting work that we've been doing throughout the year. We did a review of our current practices. We collected feedback from teachers and parents and have made some recommendations for moving forward. So we will be starting to put those recommendations into place, and then we'll keep the board updated on our progress. Any questions?
I don't see any. Thank you. Moving down to student service topics.
I just had a presentation, or actually just a memo from the Committee of the Whole, just talking about the AODA grant that we were awarded for $50,000. So I will keep you posted as we bring somebody in for approval and next steps.
Awesome. Thank you. Tom, do you have anything?
Yeah, just a couple things. We talked about the student bus discipline plans we have in place. And then we also talked about the 24-25 budget amendment, which is an action item, but we need at least 6 members here to approve that. So we'll just skip that when the time comes and table it till September.
On which one was that? Oh, the number
So yeah,
6?
24-25. Yep. We need at least 6
Perfect.
members. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to action items, hires, retirements, and resignations.
All right, so we have one contract that was offered to John Leonard, and he is being offered a limited term contract for a social studies position at Mukwonago High School. And some of you might remember John, he was with us last year as well and is coming back to help us out again.
Thanks.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Moving on to number 2, open enrollment policy revisions.
So back in July, we presented some revisions to our open enrollment policy to address some current needs in the district. We had that policy on the July agenda, and we're bringing it back for approval this evening. Notably in it, it's going to talk about how we focus on space allocation in the under open enrollment, how we are going to handle student discipline under open enrollment, how we're going to handle habitual truancy under open enrollment, in an effort to make sure that our learning environments are maximized for all of our students.
Looking for a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments about the open enrollment policy revisions?
I have a question.
Mike?
I don't know if you have it up, you're looking at it,
I
but
do.
section E of 3756, whatever, 001 tab.
Termination?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, in the red, the two-sentence paragraph, the habitual truancy determination shall be made on the sole basis of enrollment in the non-resident district. And then it says, open enrollment may not be denied based on the student's truancy from any other district. Can you just explain that to me like I'm a kid? Because I read it like 5 times and I don't
So-
understand that.
So if you're a habitual truant in the Mukwonago School District, we will determine that you're a habitual truant and we will send you out. However, we cannot deny you based off of your enrollment in your resident district. So if you are a resident of the Palmyra Eagles School District, we'll use that, and you are a habitual truant in the Palmyra Eagles School District, we can't deny your open enrollment application based off of your attendance in your prior district. However, we can do that if you are a student in our district.
Okay, so I'm just reading it again. Habitual truancy determination shall be made on the sole basis of enrollment in the non-resident district.
Correct. So if you open enroll in, we are your non-resident district, and we will make the habitual truant determination as a school district.
Okay. It just seemed very wordy, and I was reading it as they come in from a different district, and we can use their attendance, but then they get here and we can't.
So we can't use their prior districts in attendance. So if a student, if I wanted to enroll my child in the Muskego, Norway School District, and they were a truant here, and this policy were in place there, they can't deny based off of truancy in this district. However, if my child goes to the Muskego, Norway School District, they had this policy in place, they could send my student back to Mukwonago based off of their attendance and their truancy.
Okay. I guess the lawyers and you guys made this wording the way it is, and I still
This
really
is-
don't.
This is all covered.
I know what you're meaning to say, but that's not what it looks like to me, but I'll take your word for it.
This is statutory language to make sure that this policy accomplishes what we need it to accomplish.
Thanks for trying.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries. Moving on to controversial issues in the classroom.
So there were some questions that came up just about making sure that this policy accomplishes what we need it to accomplish. So you can see on page 1 of the policy highlighted in green, in the discussion of any controversial issue in the classroom or in the course of professional duties, district staff may not initiate discussions of a controversial issue that is not already included in the curriculum or otherwise approved by the building principal, nor may district staff express his or her personal opinion under such circumstances. District staff are prohibited from displaying political or controversial flags, signs, clothing, accessories, or similar materials in the classroom or other student areas unless related to a course of study or certain instructional material as it has been permitted by policy. This does not include the U.S. flag, the Wisconsin flag, the flag of the municipality, or the school flag in which the school is located. Controversial issues may not be initiated by a source outside of the school unless prior approval. You can see where that language is in the policy. We also have the language failure of district staff to adhere to the provisions of this policy may result in discipline up to and including termination. I apologize that that is not highlighted in green.
Looking for a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion to, you're gonna make a motion to approve?
To approve, sorry. I
Okay.
make a motion to approve the
Bill.
policy.
And I'll second.
Sorry, thank you for clarifying. Are there any questions or comments?
Yes, I got one.
Mike?
So, and it does talk about in the classroom, would this prevent, I know they have days when there are recruiters from different branches of service, and I don't know if they show up with like the Marine flag or the Air Force flag when they set up shop. Would this preclude them from doing that?
It would not. That's part of the approved presentation. And so,
Okay.
so like, for instance, just for example, if we have a social studies class where part of the curriculum is discussing a current issue, right? I mean, if it's controversial, just, putting it out there, right? What's controversial to me might not be controversial to you and vice versa, right? So if we have something within the course of study or something within the course of a presentation that somebody could perceive, as long as the building principal says, yes, this fits with the course of study, we can allow this for this purpose, then we wouldn't have a problem. And the flag for the recruiter would certainly fall within that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, move down to co-curricular handbook.
So we came together, our team came together again last week, and final edits were made to the co-curricular and activities handbook, and so we're just looking to put this into place for the 25-26 school year.
I make a motion to approve the co-curricular handbook.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments, Mike?
Not on this one. We're all good, thanks, Dave.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries. Moving on to staff handbook revisions.
All right, so same thing, just looking to get an approval of the revisions to the support and professional staff handbooks. And again, these were really just revisions made based on the updated software that we're using. We switched to Skyward instead of Alio for our absence management, so very technical revisions, but necessary ones.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the revisions to the staff handbook.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the staff handbook revisions. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion carries. Number 6 is we're moving that to next month.
Mr. Porter, if we could, because we've talked about this now over a couple of meetings, would the board be okay if we had that as an action item on the cow in September? Would there be objection to that? I know you can't.
I do not have any objections. Anybody else have any exceptions?
No objection here.
Okay, we'll put it on then for
Okay.
action item on the cow.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to expulsion resolution.
So 2 things are included. First is just the policy on suspension and expulsion, just the any disciplinary proceeding, including expulsion, is grounded in policy. It's grounded in statute. As we talked about at the committee of the whole, proposing that we implement an expulsion resolution that would allow us to do expulsions by a panel of 3 school board members. If we need to use this for instances of major discipline as it pertains to drugs, to alcohol, whatever it might be, for repeated refusal, or in the instance where we have a young child, a younger student, whose behavior is such that we would need to move forward for expulsion, we want to be a little bit more nimble than trying to convene 9 members of a school board. So if we do this, just as a reminder to the board and the community, 3 panels, a 3-member panel could hold the hearing, make a recommendation. Within 30 days, then the whole board then has to vote on that. And so we would have it agendized both as consent agenda item for the whole board, and we would also have it listed for closed session for the whole board. And whatever the board wanted to do that evening, they could do. If they wanted to hear the details of the expulsion, we would do that in a closed session. If the whole board supports the panel, then we would take action on it on the consent.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments? So, I have a question. So do we make this committee ahead of time, or are we just going to try to find 3 board members that are available?
So we could break the year up into almost trimesters, like a September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, and then kind of riding it out into June. Board president has the authority to designate those. It's important to note if Mike, Craig, and Dale are a panel and Mike is not available, Jake could certainly come in then. We would just have to find the person for their availability. So there's flexibility within that panel.
And it was a minimum of 3, correct?
A minimum of 3. I do encourage consistency though with it, having used this type of resolution in the past. Consistent 3-member panels are the best way to do it. We need to notify the parent, for instance, that there will be 3 members of the board present to hear this. If suddenly 5 people show up, we're putting the parent and the child in a different position then.
My only concern is if you look at the last 6 weeks of getting those 3 people to the meeting.
Yep. We will have the so it really can be anybody, but it also is helpful just for us,
Just
so
to
when we
save
schedule it for Christine, Laura, Gina, whoever would be scheduling it, if they know my first 3 people to call in September are Dale, Craig, and Mike, they can call them. If Mike's not available, we can go to Jason. Having those designated is helpful.
Availability in the summer probably isn't the best comparison either, though. 'Cause, I mean,
And again, we haven't had a expulsion hearing in 2 years, so it's not like it happens monthly. Just thinking out loud.
All right, any other questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
I
Aye.
Those opposed say no. Motion carries. Going to unfinished business?
Yeah, so just sit here with a tremendous amount of gratitude, and it's also surprising that we are, this is the last school board meeting of the summer. New staff come in this week. All staff come in next week, and it definitely feels like we have transitioned into that school year up and running type feeling. We've had just outstanding work done this summer. I want to thank Andy Wegner and his team, Kelly and her team, for all the summer work that they did. You can see the projects that are ongoing. Andy, in coordinating those projects, has, had to navigate weather, the availability of contractors. But as a result of that, the Clarendon roof is well underway. It's nearing completion. We've got a new scoreboard at the high school. We've got the track that's gone in. We've got an elevator repair that's happening at Prairie View. He's just done a fantastic job. Kelly has the switches up and running. At the end of the day, you take your technology for granted, and she and her team have just done an outstanding job there. Our MASD, just the office staff at the district office, their availability, their collaboration, their professionalism, and all they've done to get new teachers onboarded, set up with benefits and payroll, being responsive to the community over the course of the summer, and making sure that our staff are taken care of and prepared for the beginning of the year. Alicia up in front and all the ordering that she had to do going into summer school, getting curricular materials ready to go. It's just been outstanding. We had unbelievable level of participation from our staff this summer, be it from a coaching or an advising standpoint, those that came in for professional development, served on committees, taught summer school, wrote curriculum. There is the myth that schools shut down in the summer. It does transition to a different type of work, but our teachers have just been incredibly busy over the course of the summer. And then one reminder, on September 4th at 8:30 in the morning, we will be doing the groundbreaking for the Parkview project. So I did send a reminder or an invite to the board. We also are going to be inviting municipal representatives from the municipalities that we serve, people who have helped out with this project along the way. Did reach out to Sean McNulty and some past school board members who were around when the vote was taken for this. And then those who were just actively engaged as we worked to get that project passed. You know, that'll be a big step for us when the shovels go into the ground. But what we're really looking forward to is 2 years later when we can cut that ribbon and say that the school is officially open. So thank the board members, thank the community for supporting that work. We are definitely, you know, gearing up and getting ready to build that new school.
All right, thank you. Just want to reiterate what I said before. 2 years of making progress, laying out the groundwork, looking forward to some more positive results.
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
I have had someone reach out to me and say that they really like the new marketing effort that we're making. I thought that was pretty neat. I wasn't expecting it. I'm not on Facebook, but apparently on Facebook it's pretty sharp. And they said it's very professional. There you have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are looking for a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Jason.
Yes.
Jake.
Yes.
Myself, yes. Dale.
Yes.
Craig.